Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. We are going to do just a quick soulmate snapshot today because I can't ever seem to leave you guys alone. I make these card of the day um, sort of posts on social media on the days where I don't plan to do a reading, and then it seems like I immediately wake up and just go, I would like to check in. Let's see how things are going. So that's really what we're going to do today. And it's just going to be that a general reading for this collective. We're just going to take a quick look and see what's happening in the energy here with you and your person. And that's really going to be just kind of what it is. So it's a bonus reading. It's just kind of one of these pop up ones that, these don't always go for as long as the usual ones, but you just never know. Let's see what comes out. So we're going to look first to just kind of see what is sticking out in the energy with you guys today. A couple of you have already gotten a hold of me to tell me that you were kind of feeling like a fluttering. One person described it as a fluttering in the energy. So we've got the Page of Stones. Page of Stones. All right. So the Page of Stones is that learner, and it's in the upright, and this is very promising. This is a situation where somebody is learning something and they're feeling good about it. Like there's a good moving sort of feeling about it. It doesn't feel like anybody's being forced into movement, just like a nice, healthy rhythm of it. But it also feels like there's a lot of learning there. The Weaver of Spells. This is really good. So this is an energy of discernment. It's also an energy of consideration. So we know that there's been a lot of going into that hermit cave, thinking about things, maybe coming out, realizing that everything isn't figured out, going back in, that sort of thing. With the Weaver of Spells here, we see you approaching situations in a way that makes more sense than the way you might have approached them historically. It's a more thinking way of approaching something while allowing those emotions to continue to be incorporated. So it's no less getting things done. It's just more of a considerate way of doing it, or considering how you do it. There is still a little bit of sadness, a little bit of regret, and like there's a feeling of almost instant regret. It's a moment that keeps playing out in your person's mind. A moment of instant regret. So they did something at some point that they immediately regretted. And that feeling is in the air between the two of you. So if there's something like that for you, I mean, I hate to bring it up if you forgot it until now, but it feels like that's the kind of energy right now. Remember we saw in yesterday's reading, well, at least in the extended, like there was this drive, this desire to reach out to you that didn't seem like it wanted to go away. But there's not necessarily a solid connection to that higher self and to that intuition. That's going to lead to a lot of fear, a lot of feeling of disconnectedness, and feeling like they can't really go through with it. Or if they do go through with it, like it becomes awkward and they can't really have a good conversation. They're still reeling too much in some pain, but they're drawn to the bond between the two of you is still unbelievably and incredibly, incredibly strong. They're still curious to know what you're doing every day. In fact, down here we have the curiosity card, but there's so much pain in what they remember and what they feel like is probably going to happen if they reach out. There's a lot of fear about reaching out, and yet, like we see over here, there's this desire to be very much connected to you and involved with you and in the same place. There's this tower. It's the folly card in this deck, but it's the tower in the traditional tarot. It has that same energy, and it's very much about something that they are refusing to allow to happen. They're not letting themselves fix something. So what has to happen is the tower needs to be allowed to fall. Then they use the rubble, the stuff that fell when the tower came down, to build something new and better, and built with the lessons that they have. But right now they're a little bit too transfixed by the possibilities. They are concerned about how you would perceive their emotions on this. There are a lot of things that, whereas they're supposed to be learning a lesson in vulnerability. Instead, they're constantly being triggered every time they think about reaching out, or if they try to reach out, they end up not being able to do what they want or say what they wanted to. It's a tough place for them to be, but it can be tough for you to even imagine because you seem to have a real grace about being able to have the conversation. That's one of the things that makes them feel like they kind of pale in comparison to you. So let's go ahead and move to what's happening, kind of just what's happening in your energy. What is it? Messages that want to come out for you here. What else is happening in your energy? Just the energy of today. Yesterday we were looking at the second half of April, and it was, that's a lot of things that come down on you all at one time, and you just kind of, it's a lot to take in, but it happens across a couple of weeks, so it's still a lot. But we're going to look at just today here. And so we've got the Queen of Arrows, but in the reverse. So this is kind of a feeling of just for today, I'm going to be a little bit more relaxed. That's the feeling of the Queen of Arrows here in the reverse. Queen of Arrows in the upright is very decisive, logical, cuts things out without really a second thought. In the reverse, though, there's a lot more. There's a lot more thought. Not saying that she's gonna, not cut it out. She definitely isn't going to tolerate nonsense, but she isn't necessarily just going to indiscriminately. I'm not even going to take time with this. Kind of cut it out. So the Seeker of Visions has come up. This is this is an exciting one, okay? Because the feeling that comes from it is about not being able to talk, but the emotional, it's like you're going to be able to feel in the spiritual side what is really happening there, even if you're not able to hear it in the physical. There are walls that are coming down. Some of the resistance to being closer is going away. Some of that is happening. There's starting to be still more consideration, like we were seeing before yesterday, on the of the two of this is the two of spells, so it's like the two of wands. It's a crossroads. It's an emotional crossroads, but it also, this one is about that difference that you have between you that seems like a chasm that can't be bridged, but there is a way to bridge it. There's been a lot of thinking about it. It hasn't happened yet. There's not really been that opportunity, but there is definitely a lot of thought about the impasse, a lot of thought about what needs to be bridged there. The Six of Challenges in the reverse tells us that this bridging is still very much going on, or it maybe just isn't done yet. The battle isn't done yet. Seven of Challenges says that there's kind of a renewed vigor and almost a second wind sort of feeling that has come out of it. And that's an exciting one because it's that card that came up for us yesterday in the reverse to say, I'm not confident enough to move forward. This is that resolve rebuilding. It feels like it happens over and over, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's like it's a cycle that has to happen with them. And if they fail, then it comes around again. And it's the thing is, they keep thinking maybe it's not going to keep coming around. But here we have the Weaver of Challenges, which is just like this Queen of Arrows up here. That's consideration. That's something that's not necessarily going to make decisions very quickly. However, with this Three of Challenges, there's that's like the Three of Swords, and it's this feeling of heartbreak and sadness and betrayal, and heavy in the betrayal, especially when you look at the card and you see this man is running away, and he sees, these people over here holding hands, and he's running away in tears. And that's a tough feeling. It looks very much like betrayal. It feels very much like that type of betrayal and sadness. The Eight of Boons, though, is a little bit of adds a little bit of that maturity, I guess, and mastery to it. So just because there's this feeling of sadness and being knocked down doesn't necessarily mean that anybody's going to stay there. So both of you may be feeling a little bit rough right now. Um, Both of you are probably at least somewhat suspicious of the fact that it seems like these things are entirely connected, but you can't be sure about it. They're connected, and the thing is, when your person is feeling regret, you're gonna feel the edges of it. You may not feel regretful, but you are going to feel the edges of it. So there is a lot of remembering things that were amazing with you guys. This is the Four of Visions in reverse. It's like the Four of Cups in reverse, and it is a particularly moving card because it's remembering how amazing things were between you, but not necessarily being able to do anything about it. There's this judgment. Okay, so the Council of the Animals is like the judgment in this deck, and it is really all about making sure that when they take stock of the situation, which is something that's happening in the energy today, and we saw that that's actually something that's happening throughout the end of April. They are able to see things as with any as much clarity as they ever have. So that's really good news. Let's see what it ends up meaning. Let's see where you're going to focus. Let's see what your focus needs to be. Just for today, there's this calmness that happens here. So what does that mean for you? You've got the Seven of Bows. This is where you want to, okay, so this is, I call this one not a dangerous meditation, but one that definitely can take you down a rabbit hole. So the Seven of Bows is the Seven of Fire in reverse. It's like the Seven of Wands in reverse. And it's all about, finding, it's another recommendation to do a little bit of shadow work and to think about those things within yourself that you're not so proud of or that you're not so happy with, especially those things that you haven't resolved, and to allow them to see the light of day within your own. Don't hold them off into the shadows. Bring them out. Now, you don't have to show it to other people, but show it to yourself. That's the first thing that you really have to do. Honestly, the first thing is figuring out what's in the shadows. That is a lifelong thing sometimes. The Keeper of Visions. So this is about having integrity when you go in to do this and to ask these questions about yourself. This is something that is going to be required in order, with the Two of Visions in reverse here. This is something that's going to be required in order for you to prepare yourself for that partnership, the renewed you, in partnership, the way that you've been talking about doing. You've got the Two of Challenges here that's in reverse, saying there's going to be a very difficult decision. You may already have that one upon you. A particularly difficult decision that is going to be nothing but a practice ground, but your person has prepared you for it. You have the truth. You know what to do. It's just not clear how it's going to get applied. With the Nine of Boons, you're not going to necessarily feel like you have it together. You need to be able to make a decision, and this is just part of your growth. You need to be able to make a decision that you can stand behind in an emotional situation, not just like a work thing or in a place where you have a little bit of that buffer on the emotional side. You need to be able to do that even when you're not feeling like you're at your best. Sometimes that decision is going to be pressed, and you're gonna have the opportunity to do it, but the shadow work will figure into this significantly. I'm not sure exactly how. That's interesting. But it's something that just kind of wanted to be said, wanted to come out. Man, I just dropped another card, and they're all falling face down today. So I guess that makes it easier for me. So we have the Child of Visions. Child of Visions in reverse here. This one is about keeping your own counsel. So I would also recommend to keep a journal, though. And the Starlight, okay, same thing that the star has been meaning. You've got something that is inevitable. It's headed for you. You're attracting it. You almost can't not attract it. You don't necessarily have control over it. You certainly don't have control over the timing. And so you are being recommended to kind of go with the flow, but also be aware and ready to jump in when you have the opportunity to do so. Because we were talking about how you don't get to control a lot of things, you don't get to control the timing. There will be pieces where you do have the opportunity to jump in and maybe control something. And there's that Strength card. The Strength card coming out in the upright, talking about you overcoming your fears. Essentially, this is this is part of what happens in the shadow work up here. So this is for you to work on today. If you have an opportunity to sit down, do a little bit of a meditation, and just kind of think about what it is that you would most want to fix within yourself, and then consider not fixing it but instead embracing it, not necessarily that you wouldn't then, after embracing it, figure out how it makes you stronger and figure out how to use that to make yourself better in the future. So even if you've got something in you that you don't feel positive about, you're going to feel more accepting of it, I guess, is that's where you're headed. So that's not just a one day job. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. That is something that takes quite some time, and it's not a simple path, but you're working through something right now that really kind of gives you some perspective on it and allows you to see it maybe a little bit more clearly. So I'm going to leave us there for that. There's our soulmate snapshot for today. Just kind of looking into that energy, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, but there's a lot kind of waiting to happen as things are developing and coming into their own. So best of luck as you're continuing to work through this process. I'll see you again tomorrow. I think tomorrow we're going to jump into one of the questions that we received from several people about how your person is feeling, and whether they've given up on things, or is it they're pushing away, or they're actually giving up. What's going on there. So that's what we'll look into tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you then.